that's standing on my head. We should be looking at it, huh?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay, great. And it's pointing to the right?
That one's ready.
Okay, and where's that pointing to?
No, whiteboard and you.
Okay, good. And this one? Does this get the screen?
Yeah,
exactly.
No,
It's
so
like
that's,
half the screen.
okay, you're right. So that's why we have each other.
There you go.
Thank you.
It's falling.
Yeah, be careful.
yeah.
The weight of it.
Yeah.
pushes the
It needs to
phone
be
down.
like tilted up.
Okay, so tilt it. Maybe we see, I have a couple of other ones in here. This is gonna work better.
It's like flexible and it goes back down.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, the weight of the phone.
Yeah, yeah, switch the phone a little bit.
Yeah. If I can set it back.
Yeah, you can set it wherever you like. That's the beauty. Set it next to Kelly. Kelly looks like she has a good arm. Thank you, Kelly.
Yes.
Okay, what do we need to do? Yami, how are you doing, okay? Did you have a whole day? You work right across the way, street? So you're getting your undergraduate in what? And how far do you have to go?
I have about 4 to 6 classes left.
So, do you want to do like a presentation for the class? What do you think would be interesting that you can share with them?
Yeah, but then it stops. But that's not.
What do you think? I mean, you know what you've been doing or have done. What do you think, or even get someone from you know, from,
From the EMR.
what do you think? From the EMR, or you're in that division, or you're in compliance? Who's in charge of your?
No, I moved to operations, but I can speak for someone.
Yeah, somebody, who do you think would be good then?
I guess one of the people in charge, maybe in Dr. Soul or something.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can talk to him.
Yeah, talk to him, or even somebody right underneath him, talk about like the challenges and where they're going in that, in health informatics, that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be wonderful. So see, maybe reach out to them, you know what I mean? Start Hangouts.
It said unable to connect to the network, then I pressed OK. These are usually reconnect, but then it went here.
What?
You press OK and just restart.
You know, sometimes what you have to do is, you can even, if it doesn't do it, try to reconnect to, the canes and see if it'll work sometimes. Or sometimes you have to wait and try again. Please wait. Please wait.
Probably stop.
They just do
But,
that.
yeah. Just keep restarting it and a bunch of them will save. Okay, perfect.
It's really.
Just like casual combo or well, I like to do a lot of videos. So I think
Okay. So everybody have their name tags, we're ready? Questions before we start? We had some issues on the quiz. Who emailed me about that? Yes, right?
I have the issues
I know, which, there was a couple of issues.
with
Which,
the questions.
yeah, the questions didn't
Yeah.
match the chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also I didn't I checked the answers and worked fine with the book, but it still gives me 60 out of 70.
Yeah, there's a problem. Let me go back, I'll go back. Let's see if we have the same issue with the next one. Hold on, let me go back, let me go to courses, and then let's talk about what we'll do today. Let me go to courses 450, because it was a new book, so somehow it seemed like it got screwed up, the test bank or something. So let me go to 450. And let me just erase some of this, and we'll start. Let me make sure my mic is on. My mic is on, everybody's here. And we'll do some reports and so forth. Okay. Let me close this and we'll talk about what we need. Okay, just a few announcements. There's no class next Wednesday. Due to the Jewish holidays, we will not have class. So I'll give you can put that in your notes. I'll give an assignment this week, and you can work on it during those times. So if you need to, you can reach out to me. Otherwise, what's nice is we can do some things virtually as well. So what I have planned today is we'll set up the assignments and see what are the issues, and I'll do then some chapter assignments. And the key to the idea of health informatics is what? What's the major key to health informatics?
Like, what do you mean by major key though? Like, I'm not.
So if you think about health informatics, for health informatics to have any effectiveness, it needs what? That,
Privacy of patient information?
right? But what is the key? What's even underneath that?
Like interoperability.
Interoperability, and what else?
To have everything accessible online.
And what is everything?
Like,
What is that everything?
Data.
Data, okay? Right? So before, we need to get data. A lot of times you heard about big data, right? Who's heard about big data, right? The whole idea, we'll talk about that big data and why is it big and what is the big hype on that. But the key here is data that is, first of all, it has to be what? Something that we can rely on. Even before that it has to be a reliable. And what the key here is the essence of what the government was talking about, MU, which is what? Meaningful use. What was the purpose of meaningful use is what? To be able to do what? What's a major purpose of meaningful use? It's like we've been apart too long. What's the major purpose of meaningful use? Chelsea?
To be able to implement a better healthcare system
Better healthcare system on what? What else?
by sharing, being able to share data with other physicians.
Share data and what else?
Better
To ensure providers are using EHRs to the fullest extent.
To full extent, and what else?
proper interoperability.
True operability, and what else?
Improve quality,
Quality, what does quality mean?
the care that we give the patients.
Okay, quality for the care, what else?
That people can learn from it in their families.
People can, right, interact with families, what else? Besides just the individual. Think beyond the individual.
Improves population health.
Population health, and right, when I'm gonna improve population health, and then I also wanna improve, let's say, Felipe's family's health, what do I need? I need
Better
basically data, and I need to have basically looking at best practices, right? I have to be able to interpret my data to tell what is working, what is not working. I'm able to have, has anybody heard of personalized medicine? The idea that now I can do immunotherapy. What's the idea of immunotherapy? Is basically I can take my own cells and I can basically start helping to cure myself. It's all the personalized business. So here data is crucial, and data is crucial in terms of analytics. Taking from the population, taking my data that I can make hypotheses. Who's taken statistics before? Right? Anytime you're taking your statistics, I'm taking the sampling right to make hypotheses about generalizing to the population. It's just like when we're doing the polls, right? Have you ever seen the number of people they take in a poll? It's a small number, but it's supposed to what? Represent the population to be able to do forecasts. Are those forecasts always reliable? Look at the last election, right? That person wasn't supposed to win, right? It was all of a sudden a surprise. So there were errors in the forecast. So we'll look at today the idea of forecasting and analyzing data. And what was your assignment for today? Besides doing the quiz that wasn't quite like a quirky quiz.
The top 10 performing healthcare stocks.
The top 10 healthcare performing stocks. Did you do that, Monica? Okay, so we'll look at healthcare is like one of the big drivers to our GDP. It's one of the big drivers in the stock market, and who can then better equipped to know about who to invest in, what to invest in, is to be able to be in that healthcare environment, and that's what we're going to be doing today, is looking at ways to forecast and ways to analyze. And we'll look at healthcare stocks. What's a better way to do that? How does that sound? We're right? Hopefully my throat will last. Okay? So, that's what we're going to be doing today. So, let's do a couple of things here. Let's do some assignments, get together with some homework. So we had some issues with the quizzes. I apologize. So which quiz did we do last time? Quiz 3 was the issue. And it seemed like another chapter. What chapter was that? Seemed like it was reflecting? 10. It seemed like it reflected 10. I don't know why. Hopefully, so look at 10 for 3. So let me just make an edit here. Edit test options. And let me just put a note here that looks,
And what happens with the misreading?
yeah, well, we won't count it. That's what will happen. Okay, looks like, and then I'll try to see, looks like chapter 10 with misgrading, with errors in grading. One of the things that we're learning is what? With technology, what do we learn? Then, Avaya, that we're always what do we want to do? At least document. You did a great job in terms of documenting, right? What are the issues? Who else had problems in getting in? Even sent me an email that they had problems? Was it you, Avaya? Some people had problems even taking, right? Yami, we even had problems taking the quiz. They blamed it on I don't know what, but I think it was
So cache.
the cache that was in it. I don't know what were the errors here. Looks like,
Friday? Yeah, Friday Blackboard was down.
I know it was down, so but then they blamed it on us, so it's okay. All right, looks like chapter 10 with errors, okay? Let me just submit and then we'll do this. Let's see with, let me go to vital source here. And, let's look at bookshelf and let's just look at here. What the issue was. Okay, and, so this should have been, and I'll cover it with you, on the, basically, when we deal with healthcare data, you see here on the key terms of big data, we'll cover the big data. We'll talk about data accuracy, data accessibility, data consistency, data precision, data relevancy, the timeliness we'll discuss today on data timeliness, data warehouses. So much data there will be filled with data. Databases. This is an important chapter. We didn't have enough time, I think. We talked about EHRs, which are really part of that data. So, let's even start with this. Databases. What's a database? Everybody understand my question? Yes,
Yeah.
no?
A database is a bunch of information stored somewhere that you can access.
Okay. Let's be a little bit more articulate than a bunch of information. Okay, what's a database? Neil, what's a database? And if we don't know, we're not born with this stuff, so what do do I want you to look at me? Yes, Ty.
A structured set of data that's easily accessible.
Ricky, you were on the right track, right? But this is better. So what are you saying now, Ty?
A structured set of data.
Structured, what?
Set of data,
Set of data,
especially one that's accessible in various ways.
accessible. Does that sound pretty good then, Deb? Then we're talking about a set of data, and what are those data? What is data then comprised of? Data are comprised of a set of fields, and sometimes fields are called attributes. And in an Excel spreadsheet, we all know data in Excel spreadsheet, right? What are the fields, my rows or my columns, usually? Everybody understand my questions? What's my question, Deb?
Sorry.
My question is, I have a spreadsheet. You've seen a spreadsheet before. Let me show you a spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet, right? Right, if this is a spreadsheet, let me see if I can find another one. Okay, so let me go to here. So basically, what are my fields in this spreadsheet? Hmm?
B,
Right, so what are my fields? My fields are my columns. So date is a field, right? Open is a field, high is a field, right? So you can think about my column headings are what we consider to be fields in a database. Each of those rows are my, what we call the records in a database. So for a spreadsheet, usually rows are records, fields are what? Columns. Everything's easy when you know it, right? In technology, what they're doing, a lot of times they're using terminology you're not familiar with, but guess what? A lot of it you know already. It's just you use it in different ways, Kelly. You say, let's put column headings on it, and let's put, for instance, even if I gave a student grade book, right? I'd have what? I'd have a name, right? C number and test 1, test 2, right? And then I'd have, what would I have among the records? The rows. They would be what? Student, right? Each of those could be students, right? And then I could have a number of them. Sometimes they call these sheets, they sometimes call them tables in database terms. There's different types of ways to relate it, because I'll have one data, so I'll have a physician table, I'll have a patient table, right? I can have different physicians among hospitals, and I can relate them among tables. And then I have keys that I can relate. So I want a unique key. The unique key is what? A unique key would be what? A unique column heading, right? So the unique key, for instance, for a student database would be what? C number, right? It's unique only to you. I don't share your C number with you. So why is that important? Because I want to find exactly you, right? Why is last name not good? Because we can share that last name. Why is address not good? Because we can share that. It's common sense, right? Cindy, you know that, but it's just in those types of terms. Everybody with me? So this is important that in a database, when I go back to that databases, that what is a database composed of? It's composed of data, and what you said was great, that it's a structured set of data. It's not just, and what way I want to improve, Ricky, what you said, it's just not stuff put in there, but what, Ty? What's the key word? Is structured. That we have a set of structured. And you remember last time we talked about XML, and I talked about HL7. Everybody remember that? And basically what XML is for, it's a markup language. It's an extensible markup language that users can put their own tags with. So you remember, for instance, when I say view page source, let's see if we, right? This source right here is what kind of markup language?
HTML.
Yes, right here, HTML. And basically what those markup languages are good for is they have, you see this? They have little markup languages. Within the brackets, they're markup languages. And remember, what markup languages did I tell you about last week? HTML, what else? XML, and SGML, which was just a standard, basically, markup languages that was used standard. But the common ones are, when I talk about it, is I'm dealing with HTML, and HTML is for what? Hypertext markup language, and who cares what it stands for, right? What is it for? Who can tell me?
Websites.
Websites to do what? To show what? Show the content of a website. To make it look good, a website. So basically, when you go down and look at any of, you see this, where it says here title, right? What I see in black is what somebody wrote, right? And how do you end a tag? If this begins the tag title, James, how do you end a tag? Backslash, and then it's the same name. These are what we call, these tags are predefined. What does it mean predefined? That in the language, somebody defined tags. Title is one tag. There is, that you can do it, and you can see here, this is meta. What is meta? Meta is metadata in the way, not for it to be displayed for the end user, but for what? Anybody know what metadata is used for? Yes. What? Yeah, but what is it used for? It does build web pages, but what is it used for? Who takes care of the meta tags? This is important to know. Roy, what's a meta tag? And if we don't know, what are we supposed to do? Look it up. And once we look it up, maybe we'll remember it a little bit better too. What is a meta tag used for?
Isn't it just content stored?
Content stored for what?
Is it
What's the
for-
purpose? Look
for
at this.
queries?
Huh?
Is it for queries?
For what kind of queries?
Like when you're searching for.
Right,
certain-
so who should pick it up? Is all the search engines pick those meta tags up so they know that this is what your website is about. So it's for what they call web crawlers. Anybody ever hear of a web crawler?
Didn't you describe it as like a kind of coding thing they use to search on your website and find?
Yeah,
specific
usually, what do you think? Do you think Google just has a bunch of people sitting there and how did they think to make you number one in Google, right? To make something relevant, right? Is basically they do what they call software bots. Have you ever heard of a bot? It's basically a program that, and they call it a web crawler. It basically goes through all websites and tries to figure out what's that website about. And what you do is you give them the meta tags, give the web crawler or the software tags to describe what this website is about. So if you were University of Miami, go to if we went to miami.edu and looked at the page source, we'd see different meta tags. But this was on Microsoft stock in Yahoo Finance, right? So the content was MSFTY. William, why is it MSFT here?
It's like an abbreviation from Microsoft?
Yeah, that's the symbol for Microsoft. Then you see Microsoft Corporation. I downloaded historical prices, Microsoft Corporation, right? Historical, those are meta, right? And here's some more meta tags that tell me about the content. Here it tells me about the properties. See how this is all meta? This is the content to be able to do this. And then all of a sudden here, I have another HTML that says a link, right? And so that link will go. This is all HTML. Now, if I do HL7, let's see if we can do. And notice, what's HL7? HL7 is a standard. How's it different than HTML?
It's a standard for XML.
It's a standard for XML, so it's going to tell me about the data, not the exact data. So what it's going to, let me just see if I can find some. look at this. What do you think? You see this aspirin, body weight, body height? I want to get a tag that says body height. I want to get a tag that says body weight. I want to get a tag that maybe is going to be on this on a way in which I'm going to be able to look for aspirin. I'm going to be in a way for the diagnostics. HL7 then allows for interoperability between electronic systems. So it's going to be the tags, the difference between, put this in your notes, the difference between XML and HTML is HTML is predefined, XML or HL7 is user defined. So the healthcare of HL7 creates their own tags. Relevant to what? Health data. Why is that good and who cares? So that way it makes it easier for me to share relevant data types. It basically makes it easier, Deb, to share those relevant fields. So when I create a database, I can call that field anything I want. But if I have that HL7 standard, it'll convert it, that will all then have that same name. So then we can find then all those diabetes patients that are Hispanic, that are female, between 40 and 50, and use this medication. And then we can find out their effectiveness. And with a body weight or a BMI, do you understand? That we can start dealing with more effective health care. Because now everything's in what? Silos. There's an incentive for everyone. The way that our system has worked is there's incentive everybody to keep their data. Even it's hard to share that data with the end user and then that end user to get it and to share with the family. And they say, hey, this should be done for the good of everyone. Everybody with me? So back to, I want to show you in that chapter, they throw so much at us of what's going to be important there. It's like close. Databases, you see why data is so important? You see databases here, which was beautiful that Ty gave us the definition. And then comes data warehouse. I know what a warehouse is, right? Something where it stores a lot of hardware warehouse or whatever. So what's a data warehouse?
For reporting.
Right? So give me a definition. And you don't have to get it from the top of your head, right? Right, Ty? They don't need it from the top of their head.
It's a large store of data accumulated from a wide range of sources within a company.
So, data warehouse, what do we say?
That's
Okay.
used with a wide amount of data.
Oh, so it's data, different sources,
Yeah, usually within the same company.
okay. What else? Any other definitions we find? What did we find? Liz, what did we find? Huh? I don't need a call, right? What did we find, James?
So it contains data from a variety of sources, which we said, but it also is cleaned and stored in a way that to be accessed by multiple dimensions.
Okay. Cleaned, we put it through the washing machine, and then what else do we do? And we,
Accessed by multiple dimensions.
okay, access. What else did we find? Anything else? So how's that different than an EHR, or is it? Everybody? Hmm?
Can you try an example of a data warehouse?
EHR holds a warehouse. What's the difference?
This is like all the data from the EHR, so it just takes all that and puts it in different, I guess, buckets, and then usually organizations report out of their data warehouse.
Okay. Let's go back. What's the purpose of the data warehouse? First of all, put this in your notes. A data warehouse is not live transactional data. A data warehouse is not live transactional data. So an EHR, Cindy, is going to be live, right? I'm going to look at your record, right? Or I'm the physician, I'm going to look at all my patients' records that I have rights to, right? That's the EHR. That's already what I have. The data warehouse is used within companies to do data reporting and to do studies about their data, and it can come from outside sources as well. So it is involving data. There are databases, but it's used for reporting services, and it is non-transactional. And sometimes I even have something called, within a data warehouse, called the data mart. Look that up. Data mart. Sounds like a little supermarket. You know, like the little corner kiosk. So, what's a data mart?
A subset of the warehouse.
Yeah, it's a subset of the warehouse, and it's usually a subset of the warehouse that we usually want to do a specific study upon. So anybody has taken statistics before? Raise your hand. You've taken statistics before. You know anybody hear about hypothesis testing? So basically we have a hypothesis, and we're going to gather data, Cindy, on just that data that's going to pertain to our hypothesis. So I want to do a study on diabetes in Hispanic women. So I'll take a data mart. I'm not going to take all the data from all the EHR that I have access to. I'll get it de-identified, but before I get it de-identified, I'll be able then to do what? To be able to pull out females, right? To pull out Hispanic females, to pull out Hispanic females that have type 2 diabetes, Hispanic females that have, and then maybe I'll even do a study that have certain, that have had diabetes for more than a year, and look at the success rate. Then I'll create that. Within that, I'll do a data mart, and then I'll do a hypothesis study on that. But it won't be live data. And it usually won't be in that data study, especially in healthcare, it will be de-identified. Then I'll talk about that population of what is the best care, the best practices, and then I can share it within my organization and outside my organization. And sometimes that data warehouse, if other people want to share it, then it can come. So now what people are saying, even in the blockchain and others, is saying maybe what you want to do is you want to be able to share your data if you'll get remunerated, saying I'll share my data if I can be part of that study. I'm willing to share my data. And sometimes they may be giving it tokens, maybe they'll be giving it in terms of some type of remuneration, and maybe in the possibility, if we can find some good, effective outcomes, we'll share that. You'll be the first to be able to share that with. Everybody with me? So that's with my data warehouse that you can think about with all of these. I'm trying to just point out of what happens here, and that healthcare data again is the quality, the information, the statistics, and that healthcare, and then of course the ICDs, right, are my coding that you can think about. And why are we doing IC10? And we're going to actually, what's the difference between IC9 and IC10? The versions, right? And what are they trying to do? If it's a new improved version, what are they? You think they have more classifications or less? More. Why?
Because they wanted to make the diagnoses more specific.
more specific so I can do what? I can get better health care. And so when I do the sit-down, I can really find out more rather than generalized information. And what our systems are trying to do, besides getting out the data, is to then gain some knowledge. Chelsea, can you be so kind and fill some water for me? I'm not going to be able to continue if I don't. I'll be like these little puppets, right? Puppets and data. Okay, can you imagine? Okay, I'll mime my lecture. Okay. What else is? So that's the idea of that population health. You see that? That whole idea that if I can get my statistic, then I can summarize and then try to make some hypotheses and some conclusions about my population health. Okay? Did that help? In giving the idea, because sometimes when in reading this, we get so, I don't want you to get so hung up on all these acronyms that we say, what's the whole purpose of this, you know? Data, and this is key. If we can get a handle of this big data and where this data is coming from, that's going to be that key to where we were. And let me just do here in the same thing. So in those key terms is what we want to do is, besides getting these electronic health records and having that interoperability, is having these systems start learning from each other. And along with this data, thank you so much, I appreciate it. Is we have a term called data mining. And what do we find out there? Kaylee, data mining, what do we got?
The process of discovering patterns in large data sets involving methods at the intersection of machine learning, statistics, and databases.
Okay, so let's go slowly. She did such a good job. Now we gotta make sense of it, huh, Kaylee? So what does it say, data mining? Read it, the first part slowly.
The process of discovering patterns in large
Okay,
data
so we
sets.
got discovery of patterns. What else?
In large data sets.
Okay, so large data sets. Okay, what else?
Involving methods at the intersection of machine learning.
Okay, so we got intersection of machine learning, okay,
Statistics
statistics,
and database systems.
Do we have large amounts of data in healthcare? Any problem? Anybody have any doubt about that? We can get large amounts of data. The whole idea is what the key here is we want to find patterns. I have all those patterns. Now what do I want to do? It's almost like discovery, right? Of now what can I see among the patterns? So if I want to do in terms of ethnic, let's even start with that a lot of studies now are being done in South Florida under the Hispanic community. Why? Because we've got a large number of Hispanics, right? Do they have issues, Yami, in general in health issues. Quite a bit, right? So if I start doing that, let me find then patterns that I can discover in my data rather than anecdotes. So we can kind of together figure out some anecdotes that you can come up with. But let's find if I have large data sets, let the computer come up with patterns easier than a human being. And then we can verify it. And then we have something called machine learning. Kylie, and you're on a roll, right? We got to figure out what machine learning is. We got statistics, right? You taking a statistics course? Mm-hmm. So you got an idea what statistics. Database we already talked about. Ty was great in turning about that structure, right? So now everybody has to try to figure out what machine learning is. It sounds good that the machine learns. Learn. It's a machine, learn. Knock on the door, learn, right? I need to learn, right? What does it mean, machine learning? So Faith, what is machine learning?
Isn't it when, like...
I don't want to have isn't it when. Look it up. I don't want to isn't it when. So look it up. What have we got, Kelly?
Systems can learn from data, and that way they can identify patterns and like make decisions with just using the system instead of humans like interfering and error coming in.
Okay, so learn from patterns. What else? So I got learning from patterns. What else?
It's a branch of artificial intelligence.
A branch of AI.
It's a
Okay.
set of algorithms that'll correct itself.
Set of algos correcting itself. Did I give you the example of credit card information? Anybody ever get fraud detection call about a credit card stolen? They use machine learning. How do they do it?
They use it to try and figure out what your spending history is. So if there's something off, like a gallon of milk.
Well, basically, this is what they do.
Audit your card for the next 2 weeks.
Basically, what they're doing, they're looking for patterns, right? And how do they figure out even those patterns is they basically teach, Faith, right? They teach, there's a teaching training to the computer. And one type of training is called neural networks. Anybody hear about neural networks before? What have you heard about neural networks, Felipe?
It's the basis of deep learning.
The basis of deep learning. And where else have you heard about neurons?
In your body?
In your body, right? In our brain, right? We have the synapses, right? And they're connecting. So basically, it's part of artificial intelligence. And why do they call it artificial intelligence? It's not human intelligence. We're creating, it's artificial intelligence that we're trying to get the machine to think like a human. And who is trying to teach it? And there's basically studies now that we should start worrying about is AI is taking over a lot of this robotics. And the question somebody was asking is who is programming these computers? Just like the autonomous vehicles, right? That are part of AI and vision and things like that, and all the machines is dealing with, it's rule-based. And what do we want is it to improve as time goes on. A regular computer program, how many people have taken statistics and used like Excel or anything else to figure out something? You put in those numbers with those formulas, you'll get that same answer every time you run it. I can run it 10,000 times, I can run it one time, I can run it 500 times, and I will given that same formula and given those same numbers, I will get the answer all the time. But what happens if that function in Excel is incorrect? Will it correct itself? No. So what I want is I want to train, and this is part of neural networks, is what they do is they train and they try to have the computer improve. Basically, make less errors. And where it's great is thinking about it in diagnostics. They're using AI now for a number of, in radiology. Radiology, anybody want to go into radiology? If you go into radiology, it's basically, I think there'll be very few radiologists. But what the radiologist will do will help train the computer to try to find patterns that will detect earlier than a human being can find those patterns of what looks malignant, what looks non-malignant, even among what is malignant will be what turns out to be something that we shouldn't treat, something that we should just monitor, and something that we should treat aggressively. How do they do it in terms of patterns? So if you think about it, they've done it with skin cancer, that I can give it then. If I have a mole, then let me see, does that mole, basically before even I send it to the lab, in taking a picture, a human being says that looks suspicious. They found already that the machines can be more accurate than a qualified dermatologist looking at a mole. Right? So you start thinking about those payments. So the simple one where everybody can understand in transactions of credit card fraud is I put them in buckets. One, I have a bucket of clean transactions or non-fraud. Then I have fraudulent transactions. And I train the computer to try to find what are the attributes of fraudulent transactions versus clean transactions. Everybody understand? So what the credit cards company said, do they know what a good transaction was in the past? Yeah. Who has a credit card? You make good transactions, they were valid transactions, they know it. And then who has ever gotten where something was fraudulent? So now they'll know what happened, Ricky.
It was super weird. So I had just gotten my credit card 2 weeks before, and I guess the machine learning knew that I didn't usually buy groceries. So when I tried to buy a gallon of milk, they froze my account for another 14 days.
Yeah.
Yay, no credit card 2 weeks after. And they're like, oh, it's because you've never bought thing. The machine didn't know you bought
So it was a false positive.
It was a false positive on my account for a gallon of milk.
Okay, so it was a false positive. Who else had an incident? Yes, Katie?
Yeah, I had one last week actually. I had bought like textbooks online or something from Amazon, and like the next day something popped up from a website, and then like something in Canadian dollars, like Amex called me immediately the next day, and they said it popped up on their radar.
Okay, and somebody used your card? Or
No,
you was
on
you?
the computer somehow got my information right there. It's like I had the card with me, so.
But somebody was using Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
So here's a false positive. Here they were accurate.
Yeah, twice.
Twice. So the key here is twice. So we know already. So what they have to do for Kaylee's part is they know that claim. So they put her fraudulent transaction in, and then they know the attribute. One attribute would probably be using another denomination of currency other than the one that they use, right? So Canadian dollar, I had one where and I was just shocked at it, they didn't pick up, it said RU for rubles, on my bank account, and I said, are you crazy? And then they just shut it down right away, there was no investigation. But I would have thought RU, it would have been a better one. So this one they put in with, so here, this problem with Ricky's, what they want to do is they know they made an error, so they want to bring it back and they want to train it again. That just because he did the milk, that, now he's on his own and he's buying milk, right? That they should be able now to go back and say, for these people, just because they bought milk wasn't the key. I've had it when I go I go abroad, or I rent a car. I used to rent a car, now I take more Uber. But when I rent a car, I would fill up at the end because I didn't want to pay the gas. You know, when you have to return the car back, and you have to pay another, 50 cents or $1. I'm so cheap. I say I'll fill up, $3 or something, and that $3 at a gas station hit the bill, because usually that's where thieves go when they steal a credit card physically. They'll go to a gas station first and just fill up a little bit just to see if the card hasn't been stopped already. So then what they'll do is they'll find out what are the errors, and then once they train it, it's pretty interesting, and we can go over some exercises with it. They have it now on the cloud that you can get their software to do this, even for free. Once you train it, then what you will do is see how accurate it is, and you'll give it a third of the records, which you know the answers to, and try to figure out from the computer how accurate they'll be. And those records, now everybody knows what a record is. What's a record? What's a record? What's a record in the spreadsheet? It's a row, which is what? Let's say you, right? Your transaction there. Once that transaction, they want to see if they diagnosed this was a fraud and it wasn't a fraud, or if they got it incorrect, then they bring it back. And they're giving all those attributes. Anybody know what betas are? Like, anybody do a regression function where you have like beta, you have weights? Think about it if you have weights. So basically they'll adjust the weights. And they may say, Kaylee, you know what's an important weight is currency. And it may be in terms of gas station at a small amount. And then it's also my pattern, right? I usually don't fill up. I only fill up when I have, less than a half a tank. I usually don't fill up for $3. And it's usually not in another city or state, But maybe they should have picked it up, and maybe what they should have done is gone to my credit card and seen that I had a ticket with American Airlines going to Washington, D.C. And had a rental car that I paid at the rental car, and that may have picked up that it wasn't a non-transaction. Because it's costing them money also to send out that alert. But that's how they improve more and more. And credit cards have spent millions of dollars on this neural net, AI, data mining technique, and where there's a lot now is in machine learning in terms of the same thing. When I have one malignant tumor, one non-malignant tumor, I give it, even I know the results, and give it to the machine and see how well it discovers it. Everybody with me? So that's the whole idea of that chapter 3 data, and chapter 4 data that you'll get for next time. It is that idea that we start dealing with analytics, and we have the idea of the same idea of business intelligence, and we call it BI. Do we have enough acronyms for you to drive you crazy? Crazy. But once you have it, you don't get intimidated, because some of this stuff you know and others you'll learn. So what is BI? Oh. Business intelligence, and what is it? Sean, what did you get?
So I have, it's a technology-driven process for analyzing data and presenting actionable information to help executives.
So basically it's a way to do, again, data, and here what the key is what?
Making it actionable.
Actionable, and making it in a way that what non-statisticians can understand it. Really, huh? Because what do they say? Executive, what do they say? What's it be presentable for?
Executives.
Yeah. So they kind of want to say executive, they don't want to say executives are dummies, you know, but what they want to say is that executives want to see it in a concise manner, executives want to see what. So if you then review this, now go ahead and find what are popular BI vendors, BI software. Go ahead and search now BI software, BI vendors.
Microsoft.
Microsoft is one. They have even what's in they call it BI, right? Felipe. What else?
IBM.
IBM has one. Who else?
SAP, Crystal Reports.
SAP. So if I looked at BI vendors, right, that the leaders then, right, of analytic, Gartner, what are they saying, the Gartner, has anybody here heard about Gartner? Yes, no? Okay. Just so you know, think about this company called Gartner is basically a consulting company that a lot of CIOs, CEOs, people in IT use as kind of a research group. And a lot of times people look at vendors want to be in their auspices, so you can think about it. Modern analytics and business intelligence platforms, deployment increasingly cloud-based. Everybody knows what that is. It's not on the premise, it's in the cloud. Data and analytic leaders are upgrading traditional solutions as well as innovating the ease and use of analytics, basically making sense out of my data. So you can see here Microsoft, Qlik, and basically it's a way in which to give you data that's important to you and to summarize that data that you can make some decisions upon. So for instance, if I have a number of hospitals, I can find out easily which hospital is more profitable than the other. I can find out which sections of the hospital is more profitable than the other. I can find out where do I have more problems than in other areas. So these are a number of companies that are trying to give the executive reports that they don't have to know Excel, they don't have to do a lot of forecasting and they'll get their reports, and every day or on the minute they can get on demand, see how I may be the sales executive and you may be the CIO, you may be the CFO, you may be the director of medicine, and among all of us we will get a different view of and we will only get data that's important for us to make decisions upon. Everybody clear? That's what that is. Okay. So, the next part is I want to go into the data analytics and I want to go into the algorithmic trading, and I want to have us do an exercise, and also because we're not going to meet next week, I want to take even part of the time to finish the exercise in class. Because what's the problem is you can't even come next week and say, hey, there's a problem here. I want us to ready that we do part of the exercise in class together. How does that sound? So we're on hands-on, so when we get stuck, we can help each other. So you want to take a 5-minute break, and then we can stretch, and then we can kind of get into it, and we can be fresh. And then I think that's what we'll do. How does that sound? And then I'll answer any questions and any of your readings that you didn't understand. But sometimes in times of the reading, there's so much there that I want to just emphasize what is key. Okay? So let's stretch, and then you can go on, and I'll get ready for the next part. Okay? Everybody can get up. You can get your water. You can fill your bottles and so forth. And let me make sure that things are uploaded correctly. people have, Windows on their machine or have Windows machines? Raise your hand. Do you have a Windows machine? Rick?
Yeah.
You have one? And then?
I do.
Oh, good, okay, we can do some things too. Okay. What do I want to do now? Courses. So I'm gonna upload PowerPoint. Browse my computer, I'm gonna go on desktop. So, Roy, Emily, and Emma, so did you do the assignment with, the health sector?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you find here?
What do you mean, what do we find?
what did you,
So
Top.
we listed on the top part,
uh,
the top 10 performing stocks year to date.
uh-huh,
And we filtered out microcap, so we did anything over 300 million
mhm.
microcap, market cap. So those 10,
Wow, look at those percentages, huh?
gorgeous.
That Tandem Diabetes Care, did you
Yeah,
see,
there was-
what,
there
did
was
you look
actually-
at that company?
No, I didn't really. I know the fifth one was a recent IPO, and it's with weed.
With
A lot
what?
of- A lot of the weed stocks right now, they're on fire.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was gonna tell people, yeah, cannabis
Yeah,
is real,
yeah, you also have the Canopy Growth. Yeah, all the weed stocks are on fire. So number 5, Tilray.
yeah, that would be interesting to do even for, I think for, I was gonna tell the class for our systems, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
for next time to look at cannabis, I
Yeah,
think
we
that's
did-
gonna be huge, you know?
We did over 300 million because we didn't really want to
Yeah,
take
right.
penny stocks on.
Yeah, no, it's good, and also you can see the trends,
Right.
yeah, so the cannabis and then the diabetes, that's
I
interesting,
didn't
that,
really look, but I know it's a hot penny stock. I don't know if it's a penny stock now because, once they get a hit on
yeah,
$100,
right, and the
they go
surgical,
crazy.
uh-huh, and then you just put
And
the
then those 4 are the industry performance. My broker gave me that. So
of the market cap, oh, the performances, yeah. So the
Yeah,
year-to-date, so among these, it's still not so, it's 28% and 34% of what are the biotech and the healthcare equipment, right?
right, the healthcare equipment right now is doing it. It's also on fire.
Yeah, right, you can see here, even on the 6 month, even on the 6, and also it looks like in the six months, this is the past 6 months?
Yeah, so from Friday or Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can see a lot of, those would be interesting, yeah,
Outperforming the S&P. So.
yeah. So you can see really that the health sector, right?
And then those 10 were just what Mr. the individual from last class.
Yeah, Dr. Gerst, you mean?
Yep, Dr. Gerst.
Yeah, uh-huh,
That was the same.
mm-hmm, yeah. But you can really see is that healthcare and the biotech and
Yeah, the
cannabis.
biotech is very risky.
Yeah, well, it goes, it's volatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it basically, what's interesting is you need those strategies to be able to know when to get in
Yeah.
and then when to
But
get.
long term, it's very risky. I mean,
Yeah.
Teva and
Well, the Teva wasn't biotech so much, it was more pharma, you know? So, and for a number of years, that was pretty good, you know? But those were kind of issues, but you have to know when to go in, but it's interesting. Okay, very nice, very good. Did a nice job. Okay, and then in the
team,
court,
you know?
what?
It's a teamwork.
Yeah, no, it's good. Okay, and then Corey, Nico, and Ty, what did we do? Did we do something?
Yeah.
So what did we find out?
Well, so that's just basically the industry performance. I just wanted to put that because.
Yeah, that's good. So you can see it's going in what type of trend? Up, right? Uh-huh.
And then that's the top 10.
Okay. And what do we have in the top 10? What looks to be good? So small, I can't see. But what looks to be good? Yeah, a minute too much. Okay, yeah, let me move this away, I don't need this. Yeah. That's good. Okay, and then what do we got here? Yeah, and so it's 59, yeah, 40, and this is what, 1 month? Changes, yeah. So this is from January, this is year to date. That's great. Okay, and what else? And these were the companies, yeah.
The first one is Massa Laboratories.
Uh-huh. And who went, and how much did it give? Great, very nice. Okay. And then what else? Group 1, Group 2, and then Lauren, Fiona, and Daniel, where are you? Are you the only one? Lauren? They what? They're both sick. Okay, so can you, take notes for them, okay? Okay, and what did you find then? Uh-huh. And the A plus and the Bs mean what? Oh, the source are from the street? Okay. Okay. And these are kind of like the traditional ones of their market value. Okay.
Kind of the top 10 private companies in the healthcare sector.
What?
They're kind of the top 10 private companies.
Yeah.
'Cause I saw that list.
Yeah.
Johnson and Johnson in it.
Yeah, okay. And then Faith, Lorna, and Sean, did you do the assignment?
Yeah, Lauren is in London, just talk to you, so.
I didn't hear you. Can you speak up?
I said Lauren is in London.
Oh,
so
okay.
she's
All right.
gonna do her part when she gets back to the country.
Okay.
This is the part I worked on, which was the health services
Uh-huh.
industry, their top 10 performing stocks, as of today.
Okay. And then Kaylee and John, what did you end up doing?
We just researched the top 10 healthcare stocks and I listed them below with their market value.
Okay. All right, and then what else do we got here? Let me just see what else. In the course documents. And then Gabriel, Kelly, and Danielle.
Yeah, I'm the only one here, but we did the same thing as the last group.
Oh, okay. All right. And then you'll take notes then for your group?
Mhm.
Okay, and let them know what's going on. And then, 7, and then, so we got Sydney, Jane, Avaya, and Felipe. Felipe, you joined these folks?
Yes.
What is your major, Felipe?
My major, BT in economics.
Okay, great, so this will be good for you. So maybe later on, Felipe, if they're too big, you'll see how it is if you wanna switch groups to people that have less people that are 2, but that'll be good. So what did you guys do?
We individually looked at the health sector. I specifically looked at the services industry, but I think overall as a group, we looked at the entire health sector.
And then you got some of the same kind of statistics that everybody else did. And you can see kind of the way, and how did that teledoc do? Again, that if you look at the 121, and what's this tabula rasa healthcare? God, they're 200%, huh? That they did.
Yeah,
Okay,
I highlighted in blue the top 10
okay,
out
good.
of that list.
Okay, we'll go through it. Okay. And William and Danielle and Yami, what did we do?
Yeah, same thing as most people, listed the 10
Okay,
things that the guests spoke about.
okay.
And then we.
And what else did you do?
And with the healthcare sector, with the top 10 year to date.
Okay. Great. And Sean and Dev and Isaiah?
Yeah.
Yeah. What
So ours is under, that folder.
Mhm.
And what we did is we split up the healthcare industry into like different sectors, so we each looked at different sectors.
We did
and then-
biotech, I did managed care, so we did kind of like health insurance companies.
And how are they doing the managed care?
Managed care, I mean, it's always flip flopping, it depends on what you're in, if there's combinations, say for example, Humana stock went down because the Walmart
Yeah,
merger still
right,
hasn't
right.
occurred yet.
Uh-huh.
And then Aetna went up because they combined with CVS.
Right, so it's a lot of
There's lots of-
news.
So
Kind
there'll be lots of fluctuation with the stocks, because there'll be news that they'll merge, and then it'll go down because the merger.
They mean on which side of the merge you are and who are the competitors coming in, and when Amazon comes in and
Right.
other ones, yeah. So it's kind of,
And I did pharmaceutical stocks.
okay. All right, so we got the idea of what's happening. Okay. So, and then, so we got that, and then Liz, Kyle, and Monica, what do we got?
Yeah, we did the same things and we're each individually, we have the top 10
Okay. Anything I need to,
under that file.
Okay, so we're done. So everybody did looks like we got a feel for what's happening, where's the future. The only one that's kind of like non-traditional, I think, is what Roy was talking about, is the idea of cannabis. I think, Roy, cannabis is going to be, that whole group. And as a matter of fact, Dr. Gers was telling me, I met him at another meeting, he brought somebody in from Berkeley, California, and we had a meeting together. And he was telling me he's working with large, I think large firms, even the tobacco firms now are going into cannabis. Now that tobacco isn't as favorable, and they say, hey, we know how to grow stuff, why don't we grow cannabis? So he's making mergers with those. And then, Cindy, I wanted to thank you for uploading the PowerPoints. And what did you think? I didn't get even feedback. I thought he was pretty interesting in terms of, there's a lot of basic things. And I think it's interesting. Give me feedback then, even during class or after class, and if you think we should invite more guest speakers. But I always like to do that because it brings another added point to you. So he's quite, he's done a lot in the, I guess, mergers and acquisitions, that's his,
We ended up making 2 different lists.
what?
So we ended up making 2 different lists.
Okay. All right, fine. Okay. So let's take all of this and try to create it, combining the healthcare, where's healthcare going, and in terms of investments and where we should do that, and in terms of, I want to cover this in terms of data and analytics, and this whole idea of software robots, the whole idea of deep learning, the whole idea of artificial intelligence, and combine it all into exercises in about 3 minutes. No, just kidding. Okay. So I put a PowerPoint up for you, and you can use that as I go along. It's kind of an overview, and I put that in our regular section of Blackboard under a regular section of BTE 450. So if you go into BTE 450, you can see, I think on the first one, it should be this one, automated algorithmic software trading systems and robotics and applications using big data. This is part of my research that I do, and I do a lot of research in this area and do a lot of presentations in this area. This one PowerPoint that I did was for a group for Stanford University, and especially looking at for women in data science. So I did this especially for them, but this was just an aside that they've done studies that women-led companies, a fortune of 500, their stock performed better than 3 times better than the S&P 500. So their companies did better, and just kind of to give the women in the audience a way in which that they can do pretty well. Okay, but this is what I want you to understand before we do any analytics and before we start dealing with any data mining or neural networks or deep learning, is this idea of what an algorithm is. In order for us to get the computer to analyze, we first have to clearly define the instructions to the computer. That's an algorithm. And what we're going to look at tonight is the way in which to do automated trading, which is the process of using computers programmed to follow a defined set of instructions for placing a trade in order to generate profits. And what we want to do is more than automated trading right now by the computer. What percent of computer trades are done by a computer without any human intervention? Any ideas? 90% at least. So we think about that, and so if somebody can manipulate that, you know, it can really bring down the whole market, right? They had some Swedish guys where you have these flash crashes. You heard about that? Where the market can go down. You've had instances. One of the things that you know, everybody's worried about terrorists setting off bombs somewhere, where cyber is really what can bring down. Think about the electrical grids, right? Bringing down. Think about hospitals, right? A little thing like, you remember we talked about the ransomware the other time, where what they were doing is just getting in and developing. Think about that whole area of IoTs getting into hospitals that can make it quite accessible. And then what we have is automated algorithmic software trading robots, and we can have these automated, just like I talked about, those robots, those web crawlers that pick up metadata to make you high on the search engines to search. Now they have automated algorithmic software robots as well. So the advantages of those automated trading systems is, again, sometimes minimizing those emotions where it takes people away, the ability to look back on my historical data, the ability to improve a lot of the order entry and to diversify a lot of the trades. And if I have a good algorithm that allows me for discipline to preserve that. The disadvantages is that my algorithm may not be good, or the systems change. One thing you'll see about trading is they have strategies, and many times these strategies work for a period of time. Just like what Deb was saying, remember that some stocks it really does well, and maybe now my strategy doesn't do well because the market changed. Or Roy, when you're talking about cannabis may be really high now because it's hot and heavy, and in a year from now the market may thin out and it's no longer going to be a big winner. Or biotech, where there's certain times where it does really well and doesn't. So one of the things I always say is I love about a computer is what the computer can do with a lot of the trading is it can lose my money a lot quicker. I can be poor a lot quicker than I could manually. So the trading, they have trading software platforms, and one of the ones that I'm going to show you tonight so we can talk about other things in programming is one in which William was familiar with, and he did part of his project last semester on was NinjaTrader. I think Faith, did you do NinjaTrader as well? Yeah, so Faith is also familiar with it, is NinjaTrader.com. NinjaTrader.com, if you're interested in this, especially if you're in finance, you can do your project. And William wanted to do his project this semester in this area of looking at healthcare stocks. If you're interested in that, it's free. The only thing is that you need to get Windows operating system either on your Mac and get it like a dual, or to find a machine that has NinjaTrader on it. And we have it in the business school lab. Did you check, William?
No, I didn't get around.
So maybe check this week. if you can, and check, they put it on in the lab, check in the lab where it's listed, and then the next time we meet, we can even maybe schedule to go down to the lab.
It's usually on the desktop.
Is it there? Is it still there?
I'm not really sure, the last time I saw it was last year, but.
Okay, but we gotta see if it's still working. So Felipe, can you do me a favor too, and just see if it's actually working there, okay? And basically, because it can be in the desktop, but not installed properly. Just by seeing an icon doesn't mean that it's done well. Good. And then there's what they call social trading, which is interesting. And this, a lot of people are doing. That's what people say. I don't know anything about trading, but I'm not an expert trader. So what they have is they have an expert trader that says, I'll share my trading moves with you, and then you can replicate them in the same order. Everybody understand? So you can share online. If I'm trading, and let's say I'm an expert trader, you can do what I'm doing, and you can kind of like mirror me or follow me. Okay? So, let me show you then an example of NinjaTrader, and then we'll do an exercise ourselves. So this is a software platform, and you can download it yourself if you have a Windows, and it's called ninjatrader.com. And what I like about this platform is that you can simulate trading and get it for free, and then if you want to trade, you can pay them and hook it up to a trading, like a Ameritrade, or you can hook it up, even NinjaTrader has their own brokerage and so forth. When you get this screen of NinjaTrader, I'm just going to skip because I'm not using it as a regular trading platform, but rather I'm using it as a simulation. And when it comes up and gives you some messages. This was before it'll give you some help screens. And I'm going to close out this, but I wanted to show you some things that were important for you to know about. First of all, this is a control screen that what we always talked about was this, the key. What was that keyword that I said? Data, data, data. So in order to see any simulation of orders, what I do is I have to connect to data. If I do what they call HFT, anybody know what HFT is? Roy, do you know what HFT is?
High frequency trading.
Right, so high frequency trading, I need to get tick by tick, I need to get that. But right now, which I have, I'm just going to connect to end of day just to make it simple. So for instance, I have things that I have connections. So I'm just going to go to end of day data and just make sure that on the bottom it's going to say connected. And you see down here in the green, let me just minimize this a bit. You can see down here in the green it says connected, and I'm connected. And then what I can do is I can go to a new chart, and then I can put in a symbol to see in a chart. So Roy, what was that cannabis one?
TLRY.
T what?
LRY.
TLOY? Am I right?
Yeah,
That's it?
I can't see.
OY or RY?
RY.
Oh.
RY.
TLRY.
Yeah, this one's hot right now.
Okay. Okay. So I have TRI1. And let me tell you we'll talk about software. And we may go just a little bit more since I'm not going to see you next week, so I want to give you an overview of it. So bear with me. So when I talk about software, there's something called object-oriented software. Anybody hear about that? Felipe, have you heard about it?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so what's object-oriented software?
It mostly deals with programming in terms of objects, where you can classify different attributes or different functionalities to each
Okay.
object.
Okay, so an object, I'm gonna give you terminology and then I'm gonna tell you in English, okay? An object has methods, and it has attributes. The methods, you can think about it as almost like, think about it as tasks, think about it as verbs. Attributes, think about the look and feel. And I'll tell you, you already know object-oriented programming. Excel. Everybody know Excel? What do I have in Excel? What's the basic thing in Excel? When you open up Excel, what do you get? You get a sheet, right? A sheet is an object. Many sheets are many objects, right? What I have in here, when I want to delete a sheet, what do you think it is, a method or an attribute? A method. If I want to talk about an attribute of a sheet, for instance, I want to make, for instance, larger font, is that a method or an attribute? Attribute. That's all it is, in that simple way. So in this case, when I have that TLRY daily, right, I have, these look to me a lot like methods and attributes. The only thing here is they're allowing an end user not even familiar with programming to change it. So I can change the color that looks like it, right? I can change the days to load. We'll do a year, right? You see there days to load. The end date is 9/12, right? To display and label. And now I'll just say, okay. Wow. So when did this start? This started just lately or what? When did you start trading? Huh?
I don't remember, I was
Yeah.
looking at like
So-
$40 and now it's at 100.
Right. So it looks like it doesn't have a history, huh? What?
Each candle's a day. So
Right,
it's like
right. So it does.
month.
Right. So it just came, of 365 days. So look at this, and now.
I was actually looking to bet against it, but it's too expensive.
Yeah, but in this case here that we can see. So it's interesting that you can see. So basically the trading systems ideally would say, right, I should know, right, to invest here, right, buy here, and then go all the way up, right, and as it's just dipping down here to sell here. The idea here is what's going to be tomorrow. So what are the other companies that you guys got? What was the other symbols that were?
Look up TNDM, I think it was.
T what?
NDM.
TN?
DM.
DM?
Yeah, that was the one that you were like, whoa.
Wow. That's like crazy, huh? It's like there's almost like something's going on. I mean, it's just like a linear market, right? That we can go on. And this has been
That's
trading.
only a week, though.
What?
That's only a week.
I know, so we can go
Since
back.
February to June.
Right, so we can go back. The other one, we weren't able to go back. So you see here, so
Broke out of
this,
that consolidation.
Broke
out of that little.
Yeah,
consolidation.
right,
See, at
right.
the top it kind of changed the date.
See?
It says it's a year now.
Right, so it's a year, right? So we can go through this. What else did we, what other groups, so Ricky, Felipe, what did you find? What was the stock?
As a stock?
Yeah, the symbol. What was another one?
America?
What is that? What was the symbol? What's the symbol?
Johnson's J and J.
J, but it's what?
J and J.
J, N, J?
Uh-huh.
Let's see. Okay, yeah. All right, so the idea here, you can see there's a lot of volatility. And the idea is that you can do what they call back testing,